Welcome back. This is Closing Bell. Now, Mumbai's municipal corporation has proposed a new development plan for the city, and its key feature, or rather one of its key features, is an increase in FSI, or floor space index. Will this make way for more affordable housing in the city? To discuss that, we have with us Ashutosh Limai of JLL India and Sarang Wadhawan of HDI. My colleague Sonia Shenoy is also in the studio with us. Ashutosh, in very simple terms, this increase in FSI means exactly what, if you can explain to our viewers? And is it a uniform increase across the city, or various different parts of the city have different increases, apportioned to them in this development plan?
Right. Two aspects to this. Increase in FSI means allowing higher density. That means higher built-up area. More people can find houses, more space for human beings. As simple as that.
Taller buildings, basically.
Taller buildings, given that we can't create land. The other way to create land is to de-reserve a few reservations, which I'm not really supporting. So it means going more and more vertical in Mumbai's case, which is a physically locked city. The FSI by and large is uniformly laid so far, but for exceptions of say MADA or SRA where you have higher FSIs. But now what the new development plan speaks about is a much scientific way of FSI distribution.
Okay.
So higher density along transportation corridors, higher density near the activity magnets such as railway stations, office districts, etc., and relatively lower density in more ecologically sensitive areas or away from the transport corridors. I think as a concept, this is beautiful concept, this works. Only thing is it has to be viewed alongside with infrastructure plan and implementation.
So just for an illustration purpose, the current FSI is what, 3 or 3.33 or something like that, and some of the increased FSI goes all the way up to 8. Can you give us sort of some idea of what the new FSI looks like in the proposal?
The base FSI for the island city is 1.33, while that for suburbs is 1. And we have certain options available such as TDR, fungible FSI, etc. So in most cases, up to 3 of FSI is utilized by multiple means in the current situation.
In various parts of the city?
That's right,
the city. Okay.
Across the city.
Okay.
But we don't have location-specific differential FSI, but for a few notified districts such as Bandra Kurla complex.
Okay.
Now, what the new plan says that depending on the location and depending on the density envisaged, you can have variable FSI going up to 8. I think that's
8 has been apportioned to which area of the city?
8 will be closer to the railway stations and activity magnets and the future office or high density districts that the government plans to do. Areas such as Dadar and around, areas Lower Parel and around, which are already seeing a lot of real estate development. Reuse of erstwhile industrial lands getting rebuilt into office and residential blocks. The central business districts, South Mumbai, and emerging or proposed business districts such as Oshiwara and Kanjurmarg. These are the areas where higher FSI is proposed.
So you sound like you are in favor of what they are proposing, that you think that this will add to the stock of constructed space in the city and therefore also in some ways add to the affordable housing available in the city?
I think my acceptance to this is conditional. I think it's a good tool to redensify the city, provided that we do proper infrastructure planning.
And that's missing. That's the key piece missing in this.
I don't think we have focused too much on that in the new plan. So we need to have better clarity of how we are going to deal with the infrastructure that we will need to house or to cater to the additional population we want to house or want to invite for work purpose.
All right. We also have with us Sarang Wadhawan of HDI. Sarang, it does seem that this is sort of a development plan that recognizes the need of the hour, which is to go vertical. So why is it that many of the comments that have come in from the builder fraternity are fairly negative or pessimistic about what this DP does?
See, I think the issue here is that it's pretty confusing if you look at this new development plan. Firstly, it's going to come 3 years forward. It's not going to be implemented immediately. There's an objection suggestion period, which is about 6 months, and then subsequently it has to be published by the government. So it's 3 years that we have. Also, at the same time, this plan has its own benefits. They are looking at the approval processes becoming simpler. The other thing is that the developers are negative on this plan for a certain reason, is that currently what we do is we have a base FSI and the TDR component, but we do have additions to this. We have fungible FSI. We have deficiencies which are allowed in buildings. What this plan will do is remove all of those additions.
But isn't that great?
Well,
there's no
larger
scope
layouts,
in this plan. I mean, look, Sarang, I don't mean for you, but so many builders have abused the current FSI system and then hoped that it would get regularized, through a variety of processes over time. So this is great. It takes away all those gray areas and says, look, if you want to build, these are the areas in which you can build up to, let's say, 8 or 6 or 5.
No, agreed. But at the same time, if you look at the larger layouts, yes, it is beneficial to the larger layouts. But on the smaller plots, there is going to be a problem because all the smaller plots will then have to be combined together and the layout proposed to be taken for under this new development plan. The problem is that all the smaller layouts are, or even if you look at the 8 FSI, which is now being talked about so much next to the railway stations, Mumbai has its own intrinsic problems like the airport, where there are height restrictions in place. Will we be able to consume the 8 FSI is the first question. And the second part is next to the railway lines, anyways, you have to leave half the building height because of the railways. So there is no way that any of these additions can be consumed on site itself. So I think it's a very confusing plan. We'll have to wait and watch how it actually goes ahead.
Sarang, hi, afternoon. This is Sonia here. For HDIL per se, what could the positives be? Because you do a lot of SRA projects, and in the development plan, there's been no clarity or no mention of what the FSI would be for SRA projects. So currently, I think you have up to 4 FSI. Is there any clarity on how much it could benefit a company like yours that's mostly into SRA?
No, as of now, there is no clarity as far as the SRA schemes are concerned. I think the policy is still being drafted with the development plan. The SRA policy by itself is very clear. The DP locations, or what the confusing part is, if the DP by itself restricts the FSI on a particular location and the SRA allows it, then what is going to happen? So there are a few factors here which we'll have to keep in mind before we start going gung-ho on the entire development plan.
Fair enough. SRA, just to clarify to our viewers, is slum rehabilitation in that sense. You agree with Ashutosh with what Sarang is saying, that it's confusing, that it sort of takes away their ability to build, for instance, stay near an airport or near railway stations to the allocated FSI, at least under this draft proposal?
I think only to an extent, because I think not the entire city is laid alongside the railway tracks, not the entire city comes in the...
Yeah, I know, but some of the high FSI areas, like you said, are those activity areas near the railway station, etc. Sarang says, are you going to be able to use 8 in those areas?
Sure, so I'm not really negating that possibility to certain specific land parcels, but there could be exceptions. But we are speaking of city as a whole. The city is a living organism. We can't really plan based on the exceptional plotscaping in mind. We have to plan holistically for the majority of the plots. And Sarang is right in one sense that one thing that we have always faced with is multiplicity of agencies and roles and responsibilities. I think this plan also should be clear about which is the apex authority, who overrules who, and so that confusions and multidisciplinary agencies coming into picture, we can avoid that kind of situation.
Okay. Sarang, I just had one question on what this would do to prices, because logically prices should come down when there's higher supply because of higher FSI. But Nightfang was telling us earlier in the day that there will be a creation of artificial disbalance in supply. So certain pockets will have higher amount of supply, and that could in effect lead to prices going up in the shorter term. What is your own sense of what this would do to prices?
I think upon implementation of the new DP, definitely there will be an increase in prices, primarily because the approval processes, the agency, the BMC by itself is now contemplating, or the development plan department is contemplating that the building proposal should be merged with the development plan. Now, if that happens, it's a one-stop shop where we have to go for approvals. Now, that will create an artificial, shortage because we will not get approvals. Now, that could be a one-year period where prices could increase. But substantially over the next few years, if we go along, I think prices will reduce.
Would you agree with that, Ashutosh? Will prices sort of increase, at least in the first phase, as Sarang points out? Look, the current stock in the city is a situation of oversupply, or?
No, I don't really think that prices will increase. I think prices should come down. Eventually, the market will decide whether a price is right for a particular location or not. And like in Hyderabad, where we have much relaxed FSI norms, virtually there are no limits, and the market has decided.
But that FSI is going to cost builders more, right? As opposed to the current circuitous route of getting more FSI or using other ways of adding on FSI. So is it going to make, therefore, the purchase of a one-bedroom house kitchen in parts of the city more expensive?
No, I don't really think so. I think the net effect is going to be beneficial for the entire city in terms of pricing and supply. There could be short-term hiccups, but I don't think that they are big enough to have no solutions for that. So I think the prices should come down. They should not go up.
So in your assessment, the only negative or missing piece in this DP is the infrastructure to support this high FSI. More roads, more flyovers, more public transport and all of that.
Yeah,
which you're hoping will get added on to explain how we're going to service so many more people
Absolutely.
living in.
And I'm not too far.
More fire departments.
Yeah, I think the agencies should be empowered enough and competent enough to tackle the issues that high-rise pose. Also, I think simply adding road coverage is not the solution. I think we need to strengthen the public transport system.
Sure.
And I think one point which is often overlooked is whenever there is a big city, a city is always dependent on a region. Because, for example, Mumbai's water comes from 100 kilometers away. So the more and more people we are trying to house in the city, we need to have a regional plan in place as well. City plan is not good enough in isolation. We need to understand where we are going to draw that additional water from, how we are going to provide the additional power we are
So all those supporting issues need to come in.
Yeah.
Okay, I just have one question. As Sarang told us, HDIL will not benefit in the near term because there's no clarity on SRA and how much FSI SRA will get. As far as I understand, even redevelopment has been excluded from the DP, so there's no clarity on that as well. So what else is left? It only makes sense in effect for industrial land parcels. So which are the companies that will actually benefit from this DP?
I think if we leave redevelopment, I think we are not really holistically speaking for the city because Mumbai practically drives on the redevelopment.
Exactly.
We don't have any virgin land anymore. But if you look at the industrial plots that are still in existence, I think it's the Eastern Corridor, the LBS Corridor, right from Kurla to Mulund. We still have a few industries
So which
left.
are the companies that could benefit?
The real estate companies, the builders
companies.
is what Sonia is pointing out. Who stands to benefit the most if this DP were to in fact become the final?
I think I would put it that way that it tries to create a fair playing ground for everybody. I think it gives a chance with the higher FSI to enter this real estate business because you don't necessarily need to have land bank provided that we have clarity on the redevelopment as well. So people who have bought industrial lands, obviously they have the edge because they can start immediately. But otherwise I think it actually balances out. It creates more opportunity for everybody.
Okay, final question to you, Sarang, then. A couple of things that you would wait to hear on before you declare this DP to be either a complete failure or a complete success.
I think the BMC actually deciding who's going to be the final authority on the approval process, I think that is the most important criteria here.
All right, and would you suggest that people buy houses now because you think prices will go up in 3 years if this is implemented?
I think we always suggest that people should buy.
All right, we'll leave it there, gentlemen. Thank you so much for joining us, Sarang, Ashutosh. Thank you very much for joining us. And Sonia, thanks again for being back.